one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our marvelous makeup artist. Say hi, marvelous makeup artist.
Hi, marvelous makeup artist.
Alex, thank you so much for joining me. Oh my gosh, and what a week to join me on, no less. We're like, we're like 14-ish hours out from meeting pig number 2 for the first time. Oh my goodness, what an episode. I have so many questions for you. I think obviously most important, are you prouder of the work that got you nominated for an Emmy or of Tommy Shriggly?
Oh my gosh, two different things altogether. It's so fun, Apples and oranges,
Yeah. I love, like, I think Vic told me the story first of you and your team kind of like whispering together one day on set, and like them being like, what's going on? You're like, oh, we found out we got nominated for an Emmy today. What a wild thing to go from like Ahsoka and the Mandalorian into just the silliest show imaginable. What is how do you prepare for such a wild difference?
Oh my goodness. Well, I knew the style of this team because when I first moved to LA, they were some of the first people that ever hired me, Sam and College Humor. So I knew what I was getting into with it. And it was a blast from the past and it was so fun. And I knew a lot of the people that were already there. It felt like a family reunion, honestly.
Yeah, obviously, like, you have a deep, deep history of putting Josh Rubin in just the weirdest, silliest things.
Yeah.
Can you talk about sort of how how you got into Dropout's universe, and how like you got brought back for this project?
If I recall correctly, I think how I linked up with them is I was sitting in a coffee shop in West Hollywood. I'd just moved to LA and there was a person there that worked with the company and they were looking for a makeup artist and I kind of pitched myself and they brought me in and I started doing their sketches and which eventually turned into doing Adam Ruins Everything and then staying in contact with them for years. And then here we are redoing this show. And yeah, no, we've always kept in touch and it's been some of my favorite makeups have been with this company because they're so creative and funny and it's outlandish and things that aren't normally in television or movies that you shoot. So, you got to think outside the box with these guys.
Yeah. How much? My guess is you have a much more like not strict vision, but a much more like strong vision on some of the more scripted things that you've worked on versus say VIP. I'm assuming you have some more leeway in terms of like what you get to do.
Definitely. I think, scripted, there's already a tone set and you chat with the director and there's already a direction forming and you pitch and it's a bit collaborative. But with these guys, we're in meetings and we're all just goofing off and pitching things and it just evolves into something that I think no one would have thought of initially. And it's like the ideas of everybody combined into one character, which is so fun creatively with these guys. And it feels like you're just hanging out. I don't know how to describe it. It's just really collaborative with these guys, and it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. It obviously like translates very well to screen of like that fun. Just like what we get is so. Every episode of this show has been so delightful and so different, in terms of obviously like a huge part of that is the improvisers are bringing different energies. But like Vic and I have talked a lot about how with this show, if one episode doesn't really hit for you, well, the next episode is probably going to be something like drastically different in terms of both tone and character and everything else. And I think like a huge part of that is the makeup is so different, just across the board. Yeah, I mean, how did some of the like the big looks come about? your Tommy Shriggly, Pig Number Two, Denzel, like those. I'm assuming very lengthy prosthetic process. How long does a Tommy Shriggly take to get applied?
Oh my goodness. Well, that makeup probably took around 2 hours, I believe. How he came about is it started out, we pitched different ideas. There's always two. It's got to be two different things. So it's like, what is the prosthetic, or what direction are we going with that? And then what is their job? And so it'll be, sorry, I'm like, don't want to spoil an episode, so I'm making sure I'm not saying like a different one.
There's only two left. It's Ross and
Okay.
Rashawn as like priests, and Brennan as like a caveman philosopher. So and if you accidentally say something, I will happily cut it out.
Okay, great, great. So I think for Tommy, for instance, we started out, we wanted a strong man, and we were like, okay, so this strong guy, where are we going with it? We want him to be goofy. Found out who would be playing him, and so we start piecing together the prosthetics. I'm on the phone. Me and Tamar, our director, will just call each other out of the blue these days and just be like, "What do you think about this?" Like we have both have notes in our phone, and we'll copy and paste and call each other. And a lot of the times we're learning our notes are exactly in sync. And so we didn't just want to do a muscle guy. We wanted to make it wacky. I believe Tamara was the one that was like, "What if we gave him really, really tiny ears? Like he has all these muscles and these traps. Like what if he has really tiny ears?" And I was like, "Oh, what about tiny hands with it?" And it just kind of it starts like that. It's just conversations where we're on the phone. I think that I was in a Starbucks when she called me about the ears. It just like it, there's a base of a character where when we're in the production meeting, they have an idea that's pitched, and then me and Tamar kind of go at it and just slowly evolve it over the weeks into something that's more unique and more funny and just not something that's been done before.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's also really interesting that like you didn't know like the Muscle Man idea was prior to Zach Oyama is Muscle Man. That's super fun that like idea comes first, and then as you learn like improvisers, you then can like lean into more of what they know. I know you talked about this is now the show. It feels like the show's been on forever because of the bi-weekly schedule. So I think we're going back to the first episode, where you had talked about like Princess Emily. I know in like the behind the scenes that you looked into a lot of like what Anna Garcia had played on various YouTube or like other places. You looked at characters and tried to give her something that wasn't something that she had done before. How much of your own research then are you doing of like, all right, I got to watch hours of what Iffy has played to make him a purple alien? I guess that's probably less likely the case, but
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely spend time diving into each of these people and knowing what they've done and where I think their strong suits will be. I mean, I definitely think the team has really strong opinions and ideas of directions they want to go with each talent, and I think we want to take it, transform them into something that hasn't been seen before, because you don't want to see the same actor playing the same role over and over again, just in different nuances. So we wanted to take it completely different. And with Emily specifically, it was fun to do something not prosthetic and keep it where she could play into something more pop and fun, and have variation on the show as well. So when we're thinking about it, we don't want every single person to be unrecognizable when they sit down. You want to still see the person that's been transformed. Iffy is amazing in the alien, but we also, that's a massive prosthetic. It's nice to have variation amongst like each episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing that you say that is that like Izzy Roland, for example, people still like when the I think even when the trailer came out, people didn't recognize her. Like no prosthetics on her. I mean, I guess like a wig, but like like no like didn't have a pig nose. And people are still like, oh my god, I didn't recognize Izzy. So there is that moment of even like just not small, smaller makeup changes still make people so shockingly unrecognizable. It's and I think one of the joys of the show of like you have those moments of Ross and Rashawn is coming up, I guess 2 weeks from now, and there was a moment when the first poster came out when people were like zooming in on the faces and be like, think that's Rashawn. I'm not 100% sure. She's in like full nun habit, and like, like you have like all these different things. It's very funny that yeah, it's sort of funny that that transformation happens even in the smaller scale episodes.
For me, it's very important with each character, like in the nuances. So it doesn't always have to be so extreme. It's the subtleties too that sometimes make it great. I think with Wrigley, with the tiny ears, we added a tiny little piercing and a tiny little, eyebrow shave through. It's just those little subtle things that you can do that can make such a big difference. Izzy, just doing the orange and I think sometimes when artists take on a show like this, they go too extreme, and I think sometimes you really need to look at your canvas and build off of them.
Yeah, 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 and I think like I mean maybe the not pressure, but the shooting schedule, I think maybe benefited you in terms of like, well, we can't do full prosthetics for everyone because we just don't have the time because we're shooting 3 or 4 episodes a day, right? Like,
Three. I think that was
yeah,
also something that we had a lot of meetings about because, of course, ideally we want to go crazy with everything and go big or go home, but time constraints, unfortunately. So sometimes we're like, okay, so me and my team would sit down and we're like, okay, this is how long this makeup takes. They'll be shooting the interview at this portion. We can start this makeup, but we need this one to be an hour only to play catch up. And then the third person comes in the chair, and there's 3 of us. So then we have one person on set, and so finding that rhythm too, and then marrying it with your creative process and with, executing something that Dropout's going to love and doing all of that at the same time is a challenge, but so fun. It kind of feels like I don't know. What would I describe it as? Um, Almost a pit stop those days, when the cars drive up
hmm
and it was our chairs were never empty that day. You're seeing one person in the chair or 2 people getting ready, but as they're shooting those interviews, we're coming in and starting the next person. So like you said, we need somebody that's more simple as well, that we can play catch up in timing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I know like Brennan's episode was shot right before Izzy's episode because then we can hear Brennan like wheeze laughing in the background of Izzy's episode, which is delightful. Yeah, I was actually super curious. How does like I assumed someone has to be on set in case like Tommy Shriggly's ear falls off or whatever. Is that do you have a designated person or are you
Yeah.
rotating?
So how I set up the team was it's me, Gabby, and Bruce are getting all the makeups through as quickly as possible, and then we have Michelle Miller who would be on set maintaining the makeups and removing them and just keeping everything. She knew what the vision was for each character and would be there in case anything happened. I mean, especially Wrigley's a great one because that protein powder. We needed
Mhm.
somebody there to reset all of that, and it gets messy. We also don't know what's going to happen in these interviews. So Michelle kind of has to be prepared for anything. I mean, we have what if they dump water on themselves or who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Have there been any like on-set disasters that have caused like or have like most of the things held up?
Most of the things held up. I mean, with Wrigley, we got nervous with the protein powder because there's so
Yeah.
much glue and everything around his mouth. Who, uh, There was the worst thing that happened were nails flying off with
hmm
grandma, fast
Yeah.
grandma. And
Yeah.
no, I mean, overall, we were really lucky with everything that was going on. Nothing too crazy. The protein powder made us nervous, though. I kept running
Yeah.
over to set to be like, is everything okay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that was since that was the last episode that was filmed, you wouldn't have had to have been in the makeup like room, like dealing with anyone next to
Oh, they're
like.
still wrapped down.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
okay.
don't you worry.
Uh,
There's still a process going on.
fair enough.
Not the fun process that people like to, but pack down paperwork,
Yes.
all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 I know. Because I talked to Tamara. I've talked to Tamara a couple of times. Vic and I talk. I think Vic and I have talked 7 times about this
They're
show
the
at this
best.
point. It's so wild. I don't. They're so talented and funny and smart. And every time they're recording with me, I'm like, why are you here? You don't need to do this. But I just keep using that to get people like you then to agree to talk as
Oh
well.
no. I will say something about Vic where one of my favorite things, besides Tamar, of course, was I couldn't wait for Vic to see the transformation because their reaction was always gave me such joy because I never knew what their expression was going to be, but it always made me feel good seeing. Of course, Tamar would be like, she had seen the whole vision boards and we were sending boards back and forth, but for Vic it was very much so a surprise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Vic has talked to me about like seeing Zach for the first time in makeup, and they didn't recognize like him as a person. And then like yeah, Tamara and I have talked about like that whole like she's told me like yeah like how much prep basically goes into this thing. I will also say it makes me feel good that like Tamar calls you to just be like, hey, what if this? Because I literally messaged Tamar like 2 days ago. I'm like, here's a funny thing. So it feels better that I didn't just like I'm not just like wildly swinging.
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, when the shows started airing, I created a notes in my phone and I've just started writing down ideas that I wanted to do that we didn't have,
Yeah,
there weren't more time to do. And I had just done that on my own. I didn't tell Dropout. I just wanted to have it there in case anything happens. And Tamara and I randomly called her, I think last week. I was like, hey, Tamara, can I just like send you over this notes? And she happened to be doing the same thing that I was doing. And the first 4 lines of ideas, me and Tamara were had the same ideas. So it's just
amazing.
wild. It's
Yeah.
creatively, I feel like I work really well with Tamara, where our wavelength is just there. And I also, Sam and Dropout and those guys, I feel like I understand their humor and what they're looking for, and they're just so brilliant in what they do. So it's been fun executing some of their ideas.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's very funny because like it feels like Tamar has that relationship with every aspect of the show that like you and Tamar are like in sync on that. I know like I've talked like Tamar and Eve, the editor, have talked like that like they're like exact same like wavelengths, and obviously Tamar and Vic like fully simpatico as well. It might be the magic behind the show that all of you have like perfectly matched up
I
together.
think it's a lot to what Sam has built, honestly. I think he knows what he's doing and who he's pulling in on his team, and I think he's picking people on the same wavelength. I think it truly is a testament to like Sam and his brilliance behind Dropout. Truly.
Yeah, 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 and that obviously that makes sense. It's very fun. Yeah, I will say like obviously season 2 is in full prep mode at this point, which is very exciting. This is not
It's
a secret.
not a secret.
What?
I was like,
Not a secret.
okay,
Sam confirmed to me season 2
okay.
first
I was
and
like,
foremost. I got to break that news. So exciting
okay,
for
great.
me.
I'm like
Um,
getting sweaty over here. I'm like,
no,
I don't
you're
want
good.
to.
And then I talked to Kyle Rohrbach, who's head of series production at Dropout, and he said the words season 2 and 3 to me, and I was like, "I'm sorry, did you just say season 2 and 3?" And he goes, "Well, season 3 hasn't been greenlit or anything, but like, what basically like what world do we not keep doing this? Like Paula Abdul follows the VIP Instagram account. Of course, we're gonna keep making this show. Like,
I just saw that. That's so
yeah,
wild.
yeah. It's I mean, so the thing that was really fun talking to Kyle about the show was, that it's he described it as like you have like Dimension 20 and Game Changer as two of like the huge pillars of Dropout, of like main drivers of people signing up, and he thinks VIP is quickly falling into like that category of how popular and like passionate people are about it, which I mean, huge testament to your work. The show doesn't work without like incredible makeup and prosthetics.
Thank you.
But yeah, so season 2 fully confirmed, season 3 lightly confirmed. So I mean, fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic. Like obviously, I think I talked to Vic at some point, or maybe it was Tamar, about like talented improvisers who are outside of kind of the dropout world have been reaching out to be like, hey, this is really cool. And I haven't gotten any names or anything, but like that feels so cool to be like, hey, like really talented people are telling you your show is good and maybe they'll be on it soon. Like it's such a funny, I'm sure, balance that you all have to consider of how far outside do we reach? Like, do we pull in Conan O'Brien? I only bring him up because he and Vic did like the same theater at South by Southwest, like 10 minutes apart from each other. Like, do we bring in Conan O'Brien, which obviously would be a huge get and a general audience appeal, but also like loyal Dropout fans want to see Brennan every season in wild makeup and like doing a different character.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to spin it around on you. What do you want to
yeah.
see? Do you have a
Oh,
character vision?
so I have, this is the one that I sent to Tamar because I was so proud of this one. So I live in Austin, Texas, where the Moon Tower Comedy Festival is happening right now. And the Sklar brothers are here. They're twin comedians. And like brilliant improvisers, blah, blah, blah. And like their whole thing is they obviously as twins are so fast and like one brain connected to each other. And I think it would be super fun to bring them on and then make them into incredibly different people. Because as identical twins, like that's their whole thing. And then if you brought in identical twins and made them look different, like what a fun
That's
like
amazing.
bit
That's a fun
that would be
idea.
it would be a fun bit. Yeah, it's funny. When I got to break the season 2 news, I posted on Reddit of like, what do you want to see, kind of a thing, and a bunch of people like left comments, and too many of them were really prescriptive. Like I want to see, like someone play Vic. Like so, you dress them up as Vic, and then like
Oh,
they're like, yeah, and it's like, well, then there's like you're not allowing the person who's got the makeup on to like improvise a character.
yeah.
You've made a character for them. But one of them, and it was so funny, it just tickles me so much, is you bring Brennan in, but instead of any prosthetics, you just have Izzy pick out a nice outfit for him. And so then like you
I don't
fake
like
do a
it. I
bunch of
want to
stuff.
do makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, do you have any like dream guests, dream prosthetics, dream makeup that
I,
like
I
budget's
do.
not an issue?
I do, but I can't tell you those. I have to see if they're going to be used.
That's fair. I'll say Vic's dream guest is Barbara Walters. So
Barbara
there's your shoot for the
Walters.
stars. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I haven't thought of dream guests. I've thought of dream makeups, but dream
Yeah.
guests, oh man. Um, I don't know. I have to think on that one a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's fun. Like I will say like I think like it would be fun, not necessarily Barbara Walters. I don't know if Barbara can hold up to like makeup and improv. But it would be fun to get like a professional interviewer to like sit down across from Vic and like have the tables turned on them. I've also had people be like, "When are you going to be on it?" And I'm like, "I'm not a strong enough improviser to like sit across from Vic. I would die." Like
You know what? Jimmy Fallon would be fun. If we want to interview her, I feel like
yes.
he would go wild with that. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think like one of the things that I love that sort of made me think of like, what if Jimmy Fallon played like a much subtler character, in terms of because he is normally like so big and
Mhm.
energetic. Because one of the things that I love is like Zach Oyama, as we get to see him as Dropout fans a lot of the time, is that like joke sniper, like waits for the perfect moment and hits it, and then you put him in the wildest possible prosthetics and makeup imaginable, and it forced him to a thing that he obviously is very capable of doing, but be this huge bombastic character. And it was such a delight, and I think that's one of the really cool things is we get to see people explore characters that we aren't used to seeing. And there isn't a question here. I'm not great at this. It's just I love your
Tough.
show a
I,
lot.
I do spend time every time an episode comes out, I love reading the comments because people are very passionate about the makeup notes. Like, they'll let you know if they didn't like something, or so I'm taking
People are the worst.
mental note of all that, or if they love something. It's great. They're really over and do not want to see another mole or acne on anybody, and they've made that very clear. So whether or not I'm going to listen is one thing, but it is interesting to see what people are gravitating towards. Some of the ones
Yeah.
that were my absolute favorites are are not as popular as others, which is
Oh,
interesting. Like,
give
I
me
mean,
give me some of your absolute favorites then.
oh, I loved Fast Grandma. I just that
Nana is the
everything
best.
about that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
even doing her makeup, it was just such a blast with her. She's so funny, and she was really great through the process too. It's hard to sit there through an old age makeup. You're pulling and
Yeah.
stretching their skin, and she was hilarious. And I
Yeah.
had no idea where she was going to go with that. And when she went Fast Grandma, I lost it. I think you can probably hear me laughing. That was the only time I laughed out loud and had to leave the room. Um, uh, and I remember the cleanup was funny because I kept finding like Werther wrappers on my station, and I was like, she really was method with this, like fully
Yeah.
like went into it. That one I loved. Of course, Wrigley, we all loved,
Yeah.
and Gabby and Bruce played such a big part in that. Which Bruce is brilliant. If you look up his IMDb, and Gabby, just really great artists. I was lucky to have that team. But uh Wrigley, who else did I really love? Um I think those two might have been my favorites personally, and not
Yeah.
performance wise, just makeup wise. They were all
Yeah.
brilliant in their own performance. And Josh, I just love anything Josh does, and so putting him in something like that was super fun.
Yeah, the Josh behind the scenes is one of my favorite things, as he is just without a moment of hesitation calling out every single thing that you are doing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What is that like in the process of? I don't know where he was in filming terms, but obviously he wasn't first or last, because we've got those broken down now. But yeah, what is that like? Where Josh is just like, "Oh, what's your favorite way to paint acne on?"
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Well, Josh also, I almost had to put on a mask for that because he knows me. We're friends outside of the show now, from working together so much. And, we would just start going into our humor, and he would almost catch me because like slip up because I just felt like I was like, "Oh yeah, no." And he was earlier on. I think he was the first day, possibly. If I were, it's been a while now, but I think it was the first day, so I was still trying to find my groove, and I had never done makeup like this. It's very different than those other shows I've worked on, because people know what they're going into. You've had fittings, you've had makeup tests, you've casted their face, everyone's seen it. There's been notes, there's been growth on the character. With this, I haven't seen them in person. They have no idea what they're going into. They can't know as they're doing it. So that's adding this layer I've never had to think about as a makeup artist. And with Josh being so early on was so challenging because he knows me as an artist. And he also is just he's very in tune with what's happening to his face somehow. So I think because of Josh, it's what created uh me and my team to chat and be like, okay, we need a game plan because this man was guessing what he was. We don't want to mess up the show. And so that's when, if you go back, you'll see Gabby like take a brush and flip it over.
mhm.
Josh is the reason for that because like and it made it more fun for us. But um yeah, that Josh is a trip, and trying to figure out how to keep a makeup a secret from him was almost impossible.
Yeah. I think the thing that like worked so brilliantly then was bringing in the puppet for Josh, a thing that like, hey, you've guessed all your makeup, but you couldn't have guessed this because it
Exactly.
wasn't like part of it. So here you go. And then obviously him turning in genuinely the most mind blowing performance I think I've ever seen of. I didn't know he could do that, of just
Oh,
like switch between puppet and person with such like speed and ease. It was alarming.
he's truly
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
truly brilliant. I cannot say what it is, but if they decide to have Josh back, I have a game plan, and he's not going to guess it this time. And I have, if he's watching, I have a plan to keep him very much so in the dark this time.
Yeah, yeah. And that's got to be one of the tough things. I mean, I obviously like the Josh thing, but like for season two of like you had a like murderer's row of brilliant improvisers come in. You could just do season two could just be every single person again, and you just put them in different like makeup,
Mhm.
and everyone would love it. And then, but also like you have all these new like avenues, like Paul Abdul might want to come on the show. You know, like you have like
Oh,
all
that would
these
be so
different.
fun.
It would be so fun. Dress her up as Scat Cat. What was that? Is that the name of
Yeah.
the cartoon cat?
Oh yeah.
MC Scat Cat, I think, is his name in the. Anyway, but yeah, I talked to BDG. I've talked to a lot of people about the show, but I talked to BDG, and he was talking about how like obviously like when you put the like mechanical piece over his eye, he started to get an idea of like what like obviously something's over his eye
Mhm.
because he can't open it anymore. But I don't know if it was Gabby, but someone like drew like a fake line across his neck,
Gabby.
um, and he thought that he was like that this was like a detached eyeball, and he was like a zombie, and like you were putting in like a slash mark on his throat that like he had been killed, and like had no idea what was happening. So I can tell you, you were very successful post Josh in tricking
Yes.
people.
It was an emergency meeting. I think I was halfway through Josh's makeup and I had Gabby step in and I ran to Tamara. I was like, so we got a flag on the play. What do you want? Like, what do we do? And she's like, do the best you can. And we'll trick. I was like, do I have permission to lie to these people? And she was like, you have permission. And so I tried with Josh, but it was that ship had sailed. So the next one,
Yeah,
that's when that began. And we started
yeah.
acting like we were just Gabby specifically, we would pretend to step out of the room. It's only a curtain dividing, and we
Mhm.
would whisper loudly different things, like that we thought we were in secret. And then I think they were falling for it because we'd come in and I'd be like, "You didn't hear anything, did you?" And they'd be, "No, no, no, no." And I knew they did. So I'm hoping that throws them off enough. This year, I gotta do different methods because they know this now. So I got to figure out a
Yeah.
new plan.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, look, just cast all different people, and you can use the same tricks. Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the cool things about Dropout in general is it is that such like a huge talent incubator of like Lou Wilson wasn't on this season, and that is one of the people that like
Lou.
yeah, Lou's so fantastic. It's one of the like when like I said I made that Reddit thread of like who do you want to see in season two. It was also very funny because a bunch of people were like I want to see Izzy and Brennan, and it's like they're on season one. The episodes haven't aired yet.
Yeah. With Lou, I turned him into an alien once for one of these shows with this team. So he would be great
Yeah,
in prosthetics. But a
yeah,
dream old cast that I haven't seen him in a minute that I would love to transform Emily and Murph all the way. I
yeah.
would love to see what Emily would do.
A dream. They're so busy with their
Yeah.
podcast, and good for them. But yeah, come do silly dropout content more often.
Yeah, we should
Um,
also vote to have Sam join because I want to transform Sam. I've only
yeah,
done a straight makeup on him. I want to do a prosthetic on him.
yeah. I think yeah, absolutely agreed. Also, I mean, obviously, you have the Auntie Donna connection. You can bring the three of them in. They're
Oh,
brilliant.
yeah.
And like. I probably pretty used to getting makeup and prosthetics put on.
Yes.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I'm so excited about season two. Obviously, and more. Oh, I will say, I was talking to Glenn Busan, the author. I'll just continue to plug her books whenever. Their Dad's Way Worse Than You and Their Mom's Way Worse Than You. She is one of the Real Housewives episodes of Actually. It's
Mhm.
her, Izzy, and Christina Ariel. And she had said she wants to do like a full Housewives style reunion on Actually, and she wants to bring you and your team in and do like a full face pulled back, like she's had a ton of work done.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah. So
Give the
I'm just
lips, give the cheekbones.
yes, yeah. Just putting that out in the world that everyone wants to work with you on Dropout content.
Aw, that's amazing.
Yeah. I would say like you mentioned Fast Grandma as maybe your favorite, and I think that's it's really funny because I think that is the best filmed improv potentially ever shot, right? Like it is so incredibly impressive from both Lisa and Vic, like mind-blowingly good. Um and I think, yeah, like such a huge part of that is that those small details that like you talked about in the behind the scenes of like she has the like cracks above her lip that like you have to get the lipstick into when you're like building out that makeup. Uh, um uh, how I mean how much not only like how much fun was that, but also like when you said like nails are flying off, they're popping nails off intentionally to pop them in their mouth. Like what is all of that like as you're getting word back of just like the chaos that's happening on set with Lisa Gilroy?
Oh my gosh. I could hear we were had someone in the chair and I could hear now looking back, it's when she was crawling around on the floor, but I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, I'm going to go check in on this makeup. And I remember peeking in and I just see her crawling across the floor. I see like her nails going. I just, as long as they're happy on the day and like what's going on, Michelle's there to reset, who I fully trust. And it's exciting to see what they do. As long as nothing's tearing and, any prosthetics are ripping, I'm happy if they want to shred their hair or whatever it is. If Wrigley wanted to rip off his tiny ear, it was going to be fine, whatever he wanted to do. No, it was really fun because I think me and Tamar and obviously the whole production team, when we're talking, we have a certain vision while we're building it. And sometimes it takes a turn once they see their makeup on. So it's really interesting to see that part of it and to build upon that. I think Lisa specifically added notes like she thought her eye makeup was too nice. And so when we got to set, I was doing last looks and she was like, I love the lips. I love this. She was like, but my eye makeup, can we make it messier? And I was like, 100%. So we're just like ripping the eye. She has these really bad strip lashes that we peeled up. And so that they're a little loose, you can kind of tell that they're flopping around. And so sometimes the actor has collaborative notes as well, which is fun after they first see it, just to add those nuances I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a puppy?
Yeah. Yes, he's upset about something, a noise outside. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I am so God. One of the things that I love about the show, like yeah, like you get that collaborative note is really amazing. Obviously, like every time that curtain gets pulled back and they get to see their look for the first time is such a joy as they like scream in delight. Allie, I think, especially this week's episode of just like how excited they were to see that. One of the things that I love is Kate Elliott, who's taking like the stills on set, has an amazing picture of. I think it's you. I don't remember someone trimming Allie's wig
That's
as like you're as
That's actually a really funny backstory and where we had a curveball thrown because I, of course, am doing research into the actor that's playing the role. And when I looked up Allie, the picture that was sent to me, they had kind of the cut of the wig. It was shaggier brown hair. And so we thought when they came in, they had that hair. And so they came in and they sat down and they had shaved green hair. And I looked at Gabby and we were like, what do we do? And we had just wrapped, I don't know if I can say this, so bleep this out if this is a spoiler. We had just finished Caveman. So I had that wig, which was long, and I threw it on a block. Bruce is doing Allie's makeup and I'm chopping this long wig into this lob. So that's the picture is me being like, I like this is what they asked for and I'm trying to trim it. We just did not anticipate Allie coming in with green hair. And that's the challenge when you can't talk to the actor because you don't want to reach out. Typically you would reach out prior to and you'd get recent photos and you'd talk about what they want for their hair. But I had no way of doing that. I had a way, but it would ruin everything. You can't give a hint of being like, what's your hair look like? Then they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
am I getting a wig? Um, so that was a curveball that we were prepared for, but it happened, and that photo is me being like, I got to add this into the time that I didn't account for. So I think you see my eyes like really intense in that moment.
Oh, that's delightful. Yeah. Any other like notable curveballs thrown your way during?
Curveball. Oh man. Trying to think. I think originally with um Izzy, we were going to turn all of them into bark. Like Tamar had pitched this idea that the Mother Nature. I think originally that was going to be like Mother Nature mixed with Jersey, and we ended up scrapping and going away from that because it was such a heavy makeup process, timing wise. First of all, of just. I mean, that's 3 hours to do full body prosthetics of bark. And also, they were pregnant. And so we were like, that's an intense process. We didn't know until I think a week before or a few days before that they were pregnant. And yeah, that was like, I don't want to put her through all of this while she's sitting in a chair pregnant. I'm sure she's got to pee every 2 seconds, all these things. And so we ended up pulling away from that a bit and putting Mother Nature more into the costuming, which was a fun little curveball. And I think it turned out great. It worked in our favor.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it's also the Izzy one is so funny because and it happens time and time again. And one of the things that I really love about the show, like Giovanni and Oscar, like you dress them as twins, and then they come out and improvise that they're a married couple. Like such a brilliant turn as to like what I'm sure everyone kind of thought was the thing. And like with Izzy, you're like New Jersey, a thing she can absolutely play. She's gonna crush it, and then she comes out as like Southern like Belle, and you're like, well, this is even funnier. That like,
Exactly.
um, uh, yeah. What is that like? I guess in that process, because obviously, like you've been there and like developing a character in terms of makeup, and then you get to see them just be like, we've come up with an entirely new thing.
Oh, I
Is
love
it?
it. I love that. It's like, um, we knew that getting into it that me and Tamar and the team had a very specific idea, but we knew no one's going to guess read your mind, right? Even if you get it, everyone has their own interpretation of what they're seeing. And so we knew that was going to happen. But specifically with Izzy, that one surprised me, but in the best way possible. It made it so much funnier. Um, who was another one that surprised me? The pop queen
Mhm.
that I did not know she was going to go so heavy into being a foreign pop star. So that just like, I think that one was more like we were inspired a lot by old Coachella and festival and raves, and we weren't really completely envisioning a pop star, but it made so much sense when she went into that spiel. So I think
Yeah.
we really enjoy that. I think I enjoyed it as an artist too, because you look at something and you've developed a character based on this idea, but someone else is going to read that very differently, and it's a friendly reminder that art can be interpreted in so many different ways, and characters can be interpreted so many different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think even like Zach to a certain degree of like, that it wasn't just a bodybuilder, and that wasn't even like the main part of his character. His character was like a mental like fitness coach instead of like physical fitness. And it's like it was very funny to like lean away from the clearly like super crazy bodybuilding aspect that is right there in front of you to be like, I'm actually here to talk to you about mental health.
Right.
It's always such a joy, and I think one of the like amazing things about the show is you get those unexpected, like, is he not doing Jersey, is he doing Southern? You get those really unexpected things that makes it all the funnier. um and yeah, obviously, such a fun process to get to watch that, like that moment that they like the curtain opens up and you watch them just like immediately like wheels spin, like what is this character? um
I feel
yeah,
super
I
lucky to have worked on the show because I've never on any other job. It's just nothing. It is formatted this way. It's truly brilliant what they've built, and the process is completely different as well. So it's really cool seeing this format and seeing something develop rather than knowing what it is and then building on that. You're kind of like creating the infrastructure for whatever this talent is going to do or this improviser is going to do. And that's such a unique experience. I don't think I'll ever get it again with any other show. It's just, I think, a really unique format.
Yeah, and just hopefully you just get to do this show forever
Over
and
and over
ever
and
and ever.
over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know Vic has talked about like they want to just they're like, look, if I could just do this forever, I would. And so like, I, I'm on board to watch this for 20 seasons or whatever.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
I know also like obviously Sam has talked a lot about the ideas behind creating new shows and like the process that goes into that in terms of like you can get like one of the key components is that like you can get really deeply nerdy about a show. Like if someone really loves it, like play it by ear. Like we can really get into like the musical improv of it all. And your show, I think, adds such a cool double dynamic of it because like you can get really nerdy on the improv part of it, but you can also get really nerdy on the makeup and prosthetic part of it. And like and then obviously like people like me that want both. But like yeah, like it does allow for like such magic to be captured. I know you said like Nana is your favorite makeup that you did. Do you have a favorite episode? Have you seen the final two episodes, like final cuts, or
I
do
have
you
not
watch them when
yet.
they come out? Okay.
I watched them when they come out.
Gotcha. I have heard the Brennan episode is like next level wild. Like there's a reason why it's the finale. Like it's just like apparent like just really gets into like post Vic backstory nonsense. With two episodes still to go, do you have like a favorite episode then that you've watched?
Wrigley.
Rick, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. It is
Yeah.
God, so funny.
Yeah. I feel like he
I
gets the whole season of
yeah.
just a reality show based on Wrigley's life.
Yeah, yeah. I know people have talked about how fun it would be to do like Housewives style reunion where you get all of the people from the season like back together, put them in like all their makeup and prosthetics, and have like a big like round table with Vic about
Oh,
all
I'd
of it.
love that. That would be so
Yeah,
fun.
it would be a nightmare for you.
No, it would
'Cause-
be an adventure.
yeah,
I'd love it.
just you running across 12 episodes like oh god, and there are a couple of duos in there of just like running to everyone trying to get them done as fast as possible
And
having
hopefully
to
people are looking the same. It's like
yeah
where's what's Allie's hair look like now? Do I need that?
right yeah having to buy a new caveman wig because you cut up the original one
I
like
know.
yeah yeah I think I think I'm with you I think Nana is my favorite episode. Zach's episode is the episode that made me laugh the hardest. Although I will say, Allie got me like I watched the Allie episode this morning, and it got me good. Like
Yeah.
a lot of like, I think also it's also really fun to see someone so funny that they can make Vic break because Vic's very good at not breaking, and like that happened a lot in both of those episodes.
I did actually, thinking about it now that we're chatting, I did really love the twins as well because I thought, I think what took me off guard so much is for us in the planning and the creative process, it was so much twins, like you were saying. And
Mhm.
when they went into like the Karma Sutra and the marriage, I lost it. That one was probably, I laughed so much. And because we could have never predicted that's where that was
Right.
going to end up.
Yeah, and like I said, like I think one of the brilliant aspects of the show is that like you get that moment of not like lesser improvisers, but people not at the caliber that they are at would have just been like, well, we're twins. And so much funnier to be like, we're a married couple
Right.
that's been a newlywed married couple, no less, that just now looks identical to each other, and we refuse to acknowledge it. Yeah, so funny. Yeah, I obviously like we're coming up like I would say, like at least for me, like I get to, you said you get to read the comments. What has it been like seeing sort of like the fan reaction? Because I think generally speaking, very positive. Um, uh,
Very, very positive. I think it's been overwhelming in a great way. I had no idea how, I mean, I knew the fan base was loyal and loves Dropout, and I knew bringing back Sam had a plan, and he's pretty brilliant with what he brings. So I knew it'd be successful. I just didn't realize how loved it would be, and the comments, and I didn't think a lot of times people overlook makeup, and especially in the TV world, you're doing things that have been done before, and seeing such positive feedback. I've gotten a ton of DMs about the makeups and wanting to chat, and other artists coming forward, like newer baby artists that want to start makeup because of the show, and it was really cool. um yeah, just such a unique experience, and the comments have just you know made my whole year.
yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, obviously, like I hopped into your DMs to be like, hey, we should talk about this.
That's so funny. By the way, I was not ignoring you. It goes to that like other inbox.
Oh yeah, I
So how
know.
we found it, I was actually on set with Gabby, and how I found it was Vic added us to like a post you made. And we were like, of course, this would be so fun. And I wish Gabby was here, but she's on a flight today. She's been busy and working on a film in Texas. But yeah, hopefully on the next one she can pop in and
Yeah,
be on this as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, I will say I've pitched this idea to 2/3 of the people now. You were my last one.
Save the best for last.
South, yeah, well, yes, absolutely. South by Southwest next year, so next March.
Mm.
Very important panel. I moderate with you, Tamar, and Vic talking about the making of the show and like what it's like. What do you are you in?
I'm in. If Sam
Great, I love it.
approves, I'm there.
Yeah, I already told him about it as well. I told him first, and then I started telling the people that I want to be there.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, I think like so I got the absolute joy of moderating the actually panel at PAX East with Iffy and BDG, and it was absolutely wild. It was a 750 person room. The line got capped at 15 minutes after they opened. Like there were so many people who didn't get to come in because so many people wanted to. Because yeah, look, we all didn't know what it was going to be like. I think there is like a strong love of. I mean, obviously there's a strong love of Dropout content, but there's also like a very much a space where the conventions and festivals and things where people would love to hear about this. And I think it's a great spot that Dropout needs to expand into. So yeah,
I mean, I
South by
saw
next
that.
year.
I'm there. I saw
Yeah,
that because of you, ironically, the Webbies.
yeah,
That's really cool. I had no
yeah.
idea, and then you tagged me in something. I feel like I find out the news from you. Because you'll tag me, and I'm like, oh, so now I have notifications on for you because I'm like, oh, he knows before I do.
Look, there's been because my big popularity is on TikTok, and obviously you're not over there, and so I understand like why it took so long for me to be able to like catch your notice, which is fair. But yeah, I'm known as the Dropout reporter. It's a very it's a very weird life. But yeah, yeah, I mean, congrats on, I think, the last I saw, the People's Choice, at least for the Webbies, which I know those are two different awards, but like the People's Pick, not the People's Choice. The People's Pick for the Webbies, I believe VIP crushed it. But I think there is then like a jury selection as well. So like there's two aspects to it. I don't know how you don't win both, but and as someone who, like I said, I talked to Kyle Robach really recently. I know VIP is one of those shows that they're looking to like send off episodes for the Emmys. Like they're serious about like all of the work. You may have another Emmy nomination coming for the silliest show imaginable.
The best show. So
Yeah, I
fun.
absolutely agree. It's one of my favorite shows on Dropout, and I really love shows on Dropout. Um, Yeah, Alex, this has been absolutely amazing. If the folks out there wanted to follow you on Instagram, where they can send you DMs about how great you are, where can they find you?
It's at a Perrone 89.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's Perrone, right?
Right.
Yes, great. Yeah, it's this has been such a delight. Yeah, I absolutely at some point, post season, I'll have to get you and Gabby to chat about like this whole process because just absolute magic that you have created. And so the hugest of congrats. And I'm so excited for I'm so excited for two more episodes and then like, 9 months or whatever, and then a whole new season.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe off camera I'll pitch you some of my ideas for next season, see what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to hit stop recording right now so we can do that. All right, Alex, thank you so much. I don't know how to end an interview, so I am just going to hit stop recording.
I'm just gonna go because I'm awkward too. Bye.